Welcome back to Northwest City Politics in the Know with Juanita. We're glad that you're joining us for our show again this week. We're always happy for people like you, people that are interested in the issues that are happening in our cities. It's important for good government to have city councils, city staff, and city residents all in communication with each other. If you haven't watched our show before, each week we'll have on someone from one of the 9 cities in Northwest Community Television's viewing area to tell us about the current and future projects and issues that are happening in that city. And we'll encourage you to take down email and phone numbers so that you could be in contact with the people if they're from your city and you have a particular concern about an issue that they're talking about. So we're glad to have you with us tonight. And tonight we're very happy to have Erik Johnson on our show. We haven't had you on our show before, so we're glad.
This is the first.
We're glad to have you joining us.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And I told you ahead of time that I'd like you to introduce yourself out to our wider audience.
Okay.
Then I don't have to do it, right?
Oh, man. You got the easy part.
Right, right.
All right. My name's Erik Johnson. I'm a member of the City Council in Maple Grove. I'm in the 3rd year of my 2nd term. My wife Laura and I, we moved to town in 1993.
Ah, quite a while ago.
It's been a while. We got married on a Saturday and we bought our home the following Monday.
Ah.
And it was our intention at the time that this was going to be our kind of starter home. And we do some work on it and, freshen it up a little bit and then we move on to something more permanent.
Right.
Well, fast forward to today, and it's now our retirement home. So, and there's still some freshening up that needs doing on it, but we've always been very happy at our house there in Maple Grove, and had the ability to kind of watch the city kind of come up around us.
Right.
When we moved into Maple Grove, Cub Foods had just opened. And that was really the only thing over there. And to see what has happened kind of from there, going along Elm Creek Boulevard, and also on Weaver, and then all the neighborhoods that have just sprung up since then. It's even just before being involved with the city, just as a resident to watch all that go on, you knew you were in a pretty special.
And then I asked you to think about, is there something about Maple Grove we can tell people out there that don't know much about the city, something that they might not know?
The thing I thought about is on the far west side of the city.
Okay.
The city of Maple Grove, if you look at a map, it's generally a 6x6 square. There's a little indentation on the east side. That's Osseo. Okay. And people know that's there. It's Osseo.
Right.
On the west side, there's the opposite.
Oh.
There's it's a neighborhood that's just basically a horseshoe street. And way before my time.
Sure.
Some people on that street wanted municipal services. They wanted water and sewer. Some people didn't. So what occurred was the water and sewer lines were run in that horseshoe street. Those that wanted water and sewer, their homes are now in Maple Grove. Okay. Those that did not, their homes remained in Corcoran.
All on the same street.
Yep. So there's there's like a sawtoothed U-shaped street.
Right.
So this house is in Maple Grove. The next 2 are in Corcoran. The next one's in Maple Grove. The next, and so on. It's just a really weird layout out there.
Now that is a good surprising thing.
It is. I hope so.
I like that. Now, a couple of months ago, Maple Grove hired a new city administrator.
We did.
And maybe you can tell us something about, her name's Heidi Nelson?
Heidi Nelson, yes.
What can you tell us about her?
Very glad to have her here. Someone that has a very well-rounded background, someone who strikes me as someone who's professional in all her dealings. She most recently had been with the city of Wayzata for, I believe, 3 years as their city administrator. You think of Wayzata, it's basically a developed city. Right. Certainly has all the issues that any city would have, but they've also done some fairly significant and are doing some significant redevelopment, particularly in their downtown area, right down by the lake shore. It's pretty good looking stuff down there. One thing that you don't really come to mind right away with regarding Maple Grove is We have been doing redevelopment,
Right.
and there will be more and more redevelopment occurring as the years go on here. Prior to Wayzata, Heidi was in Ramsey.
Okay.
So Ramsey was kind of the opposite
Oh,
experience. That was literally a city coming up out of the farm fields.
Yeah.
And Ramsey was not without its issues back then. They had a number of challenges that occurred, which in thinking about the finalists for the city administrator job, that's something that I took to be a plus for Heidi. Is here's someone who has dealt with very difficult situations as an assistant city administrator and all kinds of them. You know, development issues, developer issues, personnel issues, and has that experience. And then here's someone who is moved on to a city like Wayzata, which maybe has less of that. So it's good to have that breadth of experience.
Oh, yes.
In that chair at Maple Grove City Hall. And I'll tell you, I have very high expectations for her. And I think the reason for that, well, I know the reason for that is that I also have very high confidence in her. I think she will do just a remarkable job. She's someone that the city will be proud of for years to come. So glad to have her here.
A good move forward from Al Madsen, who had been with you for what, 32 years, right?
I think it was 32 years in total.
Right.
I think the last 18, he was our city administrator, and then prior to that, he had been the community development director. So all those things that we talked about occurring, you know, his hands were on all those projects, making them come along. So.
Yeah, so I'm like kind of a slightly more important decision maybe for your city than somebody that's made a lot of changes already.
Yeah, and you know, a city administrator is, and Al proved this, is much more durable than a city council, right? Al was with the city longer than I have been, and longer than I likely will be. Heidi may be in that same position. So, you know, city councils, the makeup of them at least, changes with much more frequency than with the city administrator. So it's a incredibly important position in the city. So it's good to have stability there.
So did your city run their own search, or did you get involved? Okay.
We did. There was a call for applications that went out, and we received I don't know how many, and then went through a number of processes and eventually got down to 3 finalists, and you know, typical stuff, interviews and things like that. And the 3 finalists met with a number of our city commissions and boards. They met with pretty much all of our department directors. So the council was able to have not only feedback from our interview process and kind of that more technical type hiring things, but then more of the ancillary stuff from our department directors, from people that are active. I mean, it takes an active person to be on the Arbor Committee. But it was good to hear their feedback as well and kind of weigh things in mass for making that decision. It was a difficult decision. We were in the spot where we had 3 very good people, and we were, no matter what we did, we were going to have a good person, which made it more difficult.
Yeah,
you know,
harder to come to the end of the line, right?
Absolutely. You know that all 3 of them come well prepared, certainly able to do the job and do it well. And you know, you kind of the difference in pros and cons gets pretty finite at that point. But you know, at the end of the discussion, it was Heidi, and we're glad she's here.
Right. Now we'll go to a completely different topic.
All right.
Is that Maple Grove has been working for a period of time on a new Central Park.
Yes.
When did you start the planning process? Because this is quite a long-term thing, right?
It is. The way we plan our parks, the whole city basically is guided for development or types of uses that we're going to see. And what we do is put bubbles on that map. And on that map, there's, you know, we'd like to have a neighborhood play field somewhere around here. We'd like to have a community play field somewhere around here. And as the development occurs,
Right.
then we try to narrow down exactly where that's going to
Mm-hmm.
be. So there's been a bubble on the map
Ah,
for quite some time about a central park.
Sure.
I think it was just always, in talking about it, was called
Right.
Central Park. This is where our Central Park's going to be. So the idea of one being there and the general location for it predates my time by quite a bit. And it was it's just timing from that point. When is the land available? It had
Okay.
been actively mined for
Right.
quite some time. And when is the financing available and those types of things. So it's been in the work for many, many years.
Yeah.
The formal planning of it probably began about 3 years ago.
okay.
Something like that. And then the bulk of the construction was done last year. I was just over there last weekend. Pretty cold day,
Right.
but not a lot of room on that ice skating. There was a lot of people out there.
Being well used.
Yeah, and the numbers of skates that are being rented, it's like
Ah.
thousands of pairs of skates have been rented there already. So it's been well received so far. And the development that will occur around there, you'll eventually see some mixed use stuff
Okay.
and some high density, so apartments, condos, things like that, very close to that park and around there as well. So it's going to be walking distance for quite a few people. So it will be a busy place.
So what are the different activities that can take place in the park, or what are the different parts of what it ended up in your design?
Okay. The biggest part of it is, I think we call it the grand lawn. So it's just a big piece of grass with nothing on it. There's a pavilion there
Right.
that people can have events in, things like that. I mentioned the skating loop. There is a play fountain deal where the water just comes shooting out of the ground and kids run through it. They love that stuff. We have a new sport in town called pickleball, which I don't thoroughly understand.
I don't
but
either, but I know it's there.
It's there. I know it's there, and I know it's very popular. It's something like squash and tennis
Yeah.
combined or something like that. There are some basketball hoops there. But the park, unlike any other in the city, was not designed to host what we think of as a team activity.
Okay.
So there isn't a soccer field.
Uh-huh.
There isn't a baseball diamond. There isn't a basketball court. There's a place to shoot hoops,
Right.
but there's not a basketball court. So the idea is that people have the room to go there and play a pickup game of basketball or sit on the lawn or go for a stroll, things like that. But it's not as structured
Okay.
and really not a whole lot of organized activities there.
Now, the design process went through a number of stages. What
Yes.
kinds of things did you do with citizen input, or how to
The bulk
make
of
that
that,
part of it?
in Maple Grove we have a park board.
Okay.
And the responsibility for building, maintaining, designing parks rests with them. And I know that they went through a number of design variations, and the programming alone, as far as what's going to go into this, took quite a bit of time.
Right.
The park board is a pretty big entity, and it's comprised of, obviously, citizens of Maple Grove. I believe they received some other citizen input as well. But the city council's role in Central Park was more of an approval and a financing thing. So the park board,
Put all the plans and brought them
Yes.
to you and
yep,
massaged them till it
just a
ended
little
up
bit.
the way they
we
wanted
really
it
didn't
to
tweak
be.
much on it, if anything at all, at the city council level. So it kind of came to us as a project ready to go and just needed to be paid for.
And the park board is volunteer people from your community,
Yes.
right?
Yep. Yeah, they're appointed.
So what kind of benefits do you see the park bringing to your city?
You know what? The name Central Park is a good name for it. It's very close to what one would consider our downtown, that area right around the
right.
city hall. But it does bring kind of a focal point to
Yeah.
that gravel mining area as that develops out over the next number of years. It's going to kind of be a place that people, I think, will navigate from. If I'm coming to see
Right.
you and you live up that way, well, have you been to Maple Grove Central Park? Yep, I have. Yep, we were up there for a concert. Okay, I'm just 2 blocks down this way or something like that. And just a great all-around family attraction for the people in that area and in the city.
Now, one area that all of our cities are involved in is either development or redevelopment.
Yes.
And most of Maple Grove is development-wise,
Yes.
right? And you're in the middle of a process for a new development kind of in the gravel mining area.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get my directions. Is that east of where the energy,
Yes.
where the big
Yep.
wind turbine is
Exactly.
kind of the location?
Yes.
What streets is that on?
It's Elm Creek Boulevard and Hemlock.
Okay. So now, what's included in, you have the process of it
Mm-hmm.
is starting with first deciding what you want to put there, finding developers that might want to put it there, and then start moving forward.
Yes.
So now, give us an idea of where you are in the process with Duran Companies.
Okay. Well, the entire process starts off with that bubble map that I
Right,
talked about.
right.
So that particular, it's about 40 acres.
Uh-huh.
We guided that as mixed use, non-retail focus.
Okay.
So you think about the other things that are on there, there's a pretty clear focus on retail.
Oh, definitely.
The opposite corner has a medical building, but the other two, 100% retail. So that one has got a mixed use, non-retail focus. So generally what you're looking for is limited retail. The retail that is there generally supports the development that's there.
Right.
And you're talking about multifamily, office, hotel, that type of thing. The property was sold a while back to Mr. Duran, and he came with, there's two steps to
Okay.
development approval.
Right.
One is concept stage, and that's kind of like a smaller bubble
Right,
map.
right.
Like these are the types of buildings I
Yeah.
want to put and where they're going to be. And then there's development stage. In development stage, you get into really the details, right? What kind of trees are you going to plant?
Right.
What color are you going to paint it? That level of detail. So we did an approval of the development stage.
Okay.
So we liked,
Stage one.
yes, yep. There was a number of apartment buildings with an accessory building, a clubhouse,
Okay.
if you will. And then actually it was going to be gated and a guard station and all this stuff. A couple hotels, a couple restaurants, I think a bank, and some office uses, things like that on the southern half. The residential's on the north half.
Okay.
The more commercial stuff is on the south half. It came back for development stage approval, and
Okay.
there was a number of issues with the plan, relatively minor things that we could
Okay.
work through. But there also was an issue about, and this is all legalese to me, so I don't
Okay.
I have 100% understanding on this, about how the land was going to be divided up.
Okay.
Whether it was going to be, I think it was meets and bounds or parceled out or something like that. And apparently that can impact, or might have an impact, I should say, on the cost of the development. And the developer also wants to make Arbor Lakes Parkway through there a private street.
Oh.
Yeah, which kind of surprised me,
Right.
and which doesn't work
Yeah.
for the city. It just creates all kinds of concerns.
Right,
That
right.
road's going to continue to the east.
Yeah.
Do people have to buy easements then to drive on this
yeah.
street, and who's going to plow it, who's going
Right.
to maintain it, all those types of things. So the city has been at the staff level in discussions
Right.
with a developer, hopefully working towards something that
Right.
that will cause that development to come out of the ground. So we're still in that kind of back and forth area right now. So
Oh, and the city, because you have the planning commission doing a certain amount of work, and you were on your planning commission,
was,
I think
yep.
you said. But then your city staff does a lot more of the.
yeah, that's all the
nitty-gritty
legwork.
details,
All the
right,
legwork occurs
right,
at the staff
right.
level. If you can imagine, they get a big stack of plans, and they need to compare that to how the property is guided, all the various codes that apply, how's the traffic going to work.
Oh, yes, a lot of details.
There's a ton of concerns
Right.
or issues that need to be addressed in something like that. That type of study occurs at the staff level with our city planner, assistant planner, public works, parks, fire, all that stuff. And then it comes before the city planning commission.
Right.
The planning commission holds the public hearing on development. So people can come in and voice their opinions, pros or cons.
Oh, right.
For any of the developments that come before. And then they send it on to the city council with a recommendation. And they can recommend approval and the city council can go the other way, or vice versa.
Right.
Oftentimes we do, still the mayor will choose to hear from the public at the city council level for that review. But yeah, the bulk of the legwork occurs at the staff level.
Right.
And then the public review, the responsibility for that is with the planning commission.
So kind of what's the status of this particular plan, and what do you think the next steps will be?
The status is that the city is working with the developer to find a way that works for everybody to get that development out of the ground. So
they'll be satisfied and the city will be satisfied.
Absolutely, yeah. Just like every other development that has ever been done in any city anywhere. You know, there's always some give and take on some things. So I know that there's still been ongoing meetings. I think there was one earlier this week with the staff. So I imagine those discussions will continue, and hopefully at some point we get to turn some dirt.
Right. So it's moving forward a little bit slowly, but working out the details of it.
Yeah, and you know what? It's a thought came to me when I was in the planning commission that these projects, these developments, they're 100-year deals.
Oh, definitely.
Right?
Definitely.
They're going to be there long after I'm gone. And so it's important that this gets done right the first time.
Definitely.
And that it meets the needs of the city the city as an entity and the city as a population. It's really not good to go back 5-10 years later and try to tweak things or shoehorn something in because you fast track something else. So when it comes to developments, I tend to be pretty patient. I'm okay waiting. When I was in the planning commission, there was another developer came in with a project for that same piece of land, and it was pretty much opposite the guiding for it. And remember the developer saying, well, the market won't support the type of development the city wants. Okay, I'll wait. The market will change.
Wait till it comes to where you want it to be.
The market will change.
Right.
When the market changes, we'll build something then. So.
And that's part of your job as a council member, right?
Absolutely.
To put thought into the processes that you're going to approve.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm not, boy, someone needs to kick me off that thing.
Right.
Yep.
Now, up a little farther north of there is Highway 610 that I don't even remember how many years now, 40, 50 years they've been talking about it for a very, very long time. But it's coming much closer, but not quite yet.
We're getting there.
So why don't you tell us about the current status of the completion of this road?
Okay.
What's the last step that's been taken?
Well, a few years back, we continued 610 up to about Elm Creek Parkway.
Right.
All right. And then last year we started work on continuing 610 out to I-94. A lot of that dirt has been moved. If you're going west or either way on 94, you'll see a new bridge there. So that work will continue certainly throughout this year, if not into next year. At the completion of this phase, the bulk of the work will be done. There are a few ramps or access roads or things like that aren't part of the current project that will be eventually. But as far as having a functioning north crosstown, we will be seeing that in the very near future.
So when will they actually have the hookup made to 94?
As early as next fall.
Oh, so not
you
too far away. Right.
You got to be able to predict the weather to know that for sure.
Right.
So.
We have to allow some for construction
We do,
that
yes.
goes with the weather in Minnesota.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And then after that, it'll be a matter of getting more money.
Yeah, you know what? The only thing you need to build a road is time and money.
Yeah.
That's it.
And they're far more expensive than you'd think.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. It's ridiculous how much. The first extension that we did a number of years back, a lot of the reason it was called shovel ready. There was that big push on a national level for shovel ready infrastructure projects. It was shovel ready because in the 1970s, the city had the foresight to kind of lay out where that was going to go.
Right. And buy the land, right?
And buy the land. When we went to put in that first phase of the extension, there was one piece of property. One.
That's pretty
that was
good.
required to be bought.
Yeah.
And the city already had an agreement with that homeowner. That kind of planning occurred over decades before
definitely.
that. So shovel ready is not an instant thing. There was a bit more of that had to be done with this next phase. So it takes time. The city's been planning on that for decades.
So hopefully, still in 2016, they'll see that completion made. And
cross your fingers.
A lot of people sitting in a lot of traffic will probably be very happy.
Yes. And I don't know the exact time schedule, so cross your fingers. But
okay, so we'll ask everybody to cross their fingers for 610.
Absolutely.
What kind of changes will that bring to that area of your city?
Well, accessibility. For one thing, if you think about that's a lot of open field up there.
Right.
And now it's going to be open fields that are on either side of a freeway.
Right.
With accessibility. So if you own a warehouse company, boy, being able to get to your warehouse quickly is a big thing. If you own a company that employs hundreds or thousands of people that need to come and go from work every day, having that accessibility is a big thing. So, and it also takes away some of the wishy-washy on where exactly is the road going to be.
Right. It'll be a settled thing.
It's going to be there, right? So you'll know, you'll be able to put a tape measure out and say this is how far it is to the frontage of that freeway. So it allows, it truly is an inroad. It's in a very visible location, and that accessibility to the area in itself helps to spur the development up there.
So that'll be a major area for development in your city.
Absolutely.
Once it's completed.
Yes.
And I'm sure people are making beginning phases into what they want to do when it's completed now, right?
Well, yeah, and we're back at the bubble map. You know, we know generally the types of uses we want to see there, when we're going to see them, what they're going to look like, whose sign's going to be on the wall. That's anybody's guess at this point.
And then in the past, we've encouraged people out in the audience that they might want to, if they're part of the traffic situation, they might want to contact the Minnesota Department of Transportation and encourage them to complete all of the ramps up there, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It's never a bad idea to call those folks, and it's their road, so they got to build it.
So it still needs citizen involvement on 610.
Please.
Right. I want to thank you so much.
Entirely my
Got
pleasure.
A lot of ideas and heard a lot about what's happening in Maple Grove, and our audience out there is certainly much more updated on what's happening.
Good to know.
And we'll encourage you to tune in next week for part 2 of Maple Grove's issues. And remember to take down, if you live in Maple Grove, take down Erik Johnson's email and phone number. And if you've got an issue that we've talked about tonight that concerns you, get in touch with them. And we're glad that you're with us, and we encourage you to come back next week. Bye.